I'm back. Yep, it was like super quick, just like always. Wow, I don't know how to drink water, apparently. That's unfortunate, 16 years of life, and I still haven't learned how to actually properly drink water. My Father is the Dark Lord by Temptresslove on AO3 is what we're reading. We are on chapter 7, which, great. This book is hilarious. It's total crack. It's ridiculous. And Harry has already grown to, a toddler. And for, as far as I can tell, it's only been, a week max. And he's already, age 3, going on age 4 and age-wise. So it's great. Oh, wait, I think time has actually passed now. Chapter 7. When Harry was 3, the Order of the Phoenix, or what appeared to be the Order, attacked their base. Harry had been sleeping in his nursery when he heard a commotion outside. He wanted to climb down his bed and check it out, but if it turned out to just be the Dark Lord practicing his evil spells or something, and he found out that Harry could already climb down his already high bed, and that he was still awake in the night, Harry would be in trouble. His dada would spell his bed even higher, and he'd fill Harry's room with wards as well. But Harry was nosy as hell, so he was still going to risk it. So he pushes all that he can until his chubby little body reaches the floor. But before he could even reach the door to peek outside, it opens by itself. Harry recognizes her before she sees him. Professor McGonagall, so young, just as fiery as he remembered her. Her wand was up, ready for any kind of attack. She looked confused at first as she looks around the room. Maybe it was the duckies, toy cars, the utter chaos that was both his wizard and muggle toys scattered across the floor, or it could be the baby mobile that hung over Harry's head and made up of his uncle, aunt, and dada's faces playing Twinkle, Twinkle, Little Star, or the fact that there was a nursery in the Dark Lord's base. Either way, she was not prepared for when she saw Harry, staring at her with open-mouthed amazement. Before she could talk, the Dark Lord bangs Harry's door open. He looked completely murderous, his power and magic coming out in frightening waves. It was the first time Harry sees Lord Voldemort in his true state, and even though his dada has never done anything to hurt him, it was too much for his little body. Harry started to shake and cry. Minerva turns to Tom in surprise, battle instincts not quite developed as in the future. Harry sees that Gryffindor courage in her come to life as she bravely starts casting out a spell. But the Dark Lord is not the Dark Lord TM for nothing. He pushes her aside as if she weighs nothing, casting a spell to make her sleep as he makes his way into Harry. "Dada!" Harry cries, afraid, and yet still extending his arm toward the Dark Lord. It was what he did when he wanted to be carried. Maybe he did it to remind the man who he was. He was a baby, innocent. He was baby Harry, innocent, just a child, adorable as hell. "Don't be scared." Tom lifts him up easily into his eyes. The scary aura that surrounded him does not vanish completely, but becomes somewhat muted. Tom carries them out of his nursery running. Harry does not know where they were going. He still hears the deafening exchange of spells and explosions behind them, and he wonders just how many aura members that were present. "Dada," he tugs at the man's shirt. "Where's Uncle Lucius and Auntie Bella?" "They'll catch up with us in a few minutes," Tom pats his head. As they run, Harry sees some wizards and witches trying to block their path. Tom buries Harry's head into his chest. Harry, unable to see anything, all he can hear were the whizzing spells, and he feels the magic surround him. Not as frightening as before, but just simply powerful. So this is what it means to be a Dark Lord. Harry hears the door open and immediately feels the cool air of the night, and then the sickening feeling of apparition. When Tom finally allows him to look around, they were in a completely different place Harry has never been to. There were no furniture, just walls, and it was dark except for some candles. Tom procures a chair and lets Harry sit on it, but Harry doesn't dare let go. "No," he says loudly. "Harry, stay with Dada only." But he was still shaken, his little body unable to process what just happened. They wait in silence. Harry's heart was beating fast. Where were Uncle Lucius and Aunt Bella? Time goes by. The Dark Lord was not moving. It occurs to Harry that he could be worried too. They were his friends, his most trusted comrades, the future Death Eaters. They were undoubtedly strong, but they were still young. "Don't worry, Dada," Harry finds himself saying. "Uncle Lucius and Aunt Bella will come. They are the strongest." Tom looks at him for a moment and then nods for a while, and then nods in agreement. To Harry's relief, after a while, he hears two popping sounds outside and sees the two Death Eaters appear. They were panting very hard, but they didn't appear to be injured anywhere. "Uncle!" Harry screams, feeling himself cry in relief despite comforting the Dark Lord earlier. Auntie! Harry, they greet, but they sound tired. They waste no time and report to the Dark Lord. There were some injuries on both sides, but everyone escaped. There could still be a spy among the Death Eaters, and they had to find out who it was. The Dark Lord nods and commends them for their hard work. Bella, lift the charm, the Dark Lord orders. The dark room suddenly fills with light, and the furniture appears, and Harry can finally see that it was no mere room. It was a grand room connected to many other rooms. It's been a long night, Lord Voldemort tells his followers. Let us rest. They part ways, and Harry is starting to feel a little bit sleepy, but when they enter a room, it wasn't the nursery, but a grown-up's bedroom. Tom puts him down on the bed and magically changes Harry's pajamas into new ones. Harry wonders why the Dark Lord was not leaving, and then he starts to undress. In front of Harry. Harry almost calls out to him... in a panic and say, "What the fork are you doing, Mr. Lord Voldemort?" when he realizes that he was a child and he was supposed to be innocent about these things. Harry's eyes widen even more when the Dark Lord faces him, buck nude, his thing proudly showing, making Harry almost yelp in surprise at its size. And then Lord Voldemort lies next to him. "Excuse me, he was just 3 years old," and Harry starts to panic. He hears Tom speak. "Good night, Harry," the Dark Lord says, as he magically puts out all the candles. Good night, Dada," Harry stammers. Never in his life did Harry think he would be saying the words, "I am sleeping with the Dark Lord," but here he was anyways, sleeping with the Dark Lord. Before Harry sleeps, the last thing that kept going on and on in his head was, "The Dark Lord sleeps buck naked." He sleeps surprisingly well that night. There's 6 minutes, so that must have been one chapter, right? That was a longer chapter than usual. It's nice. I appreciate long chapters. But also, I need to know how long the chapters are going to be ahead of time when I make videos like this, because, don't have that much storage on my phone. I don't know if I have enough to read this chapter. How long is it? We can do it. Harry was 5 years old when Tom finishes gathering the important artifacts he was looking for. He had come home one day with a large snake hanging around his shoulder, and a very smug Lucius Malfoy in tow. Harry hurriedly ran and hid behind Bella. The snake was bigger than him. What were the adults thinking, bringing a snake that could mistake him for food? Tom whispered something to the snake as she slithered away from the Dark Lord's body. "Nagini won't hurt you," "Nagini won't hurt you," Tom informed Harry. "Yeah, right. Harry will not take his chances. He didn't survive this long in the Death Eater's den just to be eaten by a snake." "Auntie Bella, Carrie, please," he cries. Auntie Bella lifts him up in her arms and grins at him. Our little snake is afraid of another snake," she teases, patting Harry in the back comfortingly. Harry was a Gryffindor, thank you very much. As a lion, he could claw at the snake, but he was still a cub, so he held on to Aunt Bella, attentively watching wherever Nagini went. After a few moments, Lucius laid out some things in their new meeting room. Harry was put in a playpen, and Harry started to protest, but Auntie Bella knew exactly what it took to make him calm down. "Are you ready for a surprise, my sweet baby?" she asks. Harry stops fidgeting and looks at her in interest. Suddenly, new toys appear all over the playpen, and Harry becomes totally enamored. Harry's eyes widen. Wizard's chest. Harry opens the box and pulls out an expensive-looking chessboard with the House of Black's coat of arms on it. It looks expensive, but all his toys were expensive, and Harry never had any of this in his past life. Well, he did have the memory, but he couldn't, in good conscience, use it to play a chessboard as ostentatious as this. Horcrux. Harry drops the wizard chess set, noisily clang, filling it as it hits the floor. All the adults look at him. "Harry, what's wrong?" comes Aunt Bella's concerned voice. She'd only ever called him that when she was serious or worried. Horcrux. He's heard it somewhere. He knew. He picks his brain apart. It's only been 5 years since he turned into a baby. He couldn't forget that easily. It was before the war, and the Order gathered to volunteer fighters who wanted to fight Voldemort. Harry had showed up last minute at the briefing. He was in the back, yawning and wondering what he was doing here. Horcrux. Professor McGonagall had said something about it, that to truly kill Voldemort, they had to... Harry's eyes widened. The Horcrux's immortality, why Voldemort could not die so easily. A very dark ritual that extended your lifespan but took your soul, your humanity. Harry looks at Tom, who looks so human. Well, fine, okay, maybe not human, but he looks at him but like a Greek god of handsomeness and tallness and muscles, definitely. The Greek god Tom Riddle, patron of muscles. Was the Horcrux the reason why he became bald? Harry's hot model material daddy was going to become an ugly, pasty-skinned Lord Voldemort? Not on Harry's watch. Harry makes himself flirt towards Tom. Dada, catch, he says playfully, but was met with a serious stare. Dada is busy right now, Harry, he admonishes. We'll play later. Harry pouts. All right, if this is going to come easily. Harry takes a deep breath and opens his mouth and starts screaming at the top of his lungs. Ah! Everyone looks at him in surprise. Harry has always been a well-behaved child. Not that they had any experience with children, but Harry was easy to rear because he always knew how things went. No one had to teach him anything. But Harry was going to shatter all that today. He was going to scream and cry until they gave him what he wanted, like his cousin Dudley used to. In a few moments, Lucius and Bella are in a fury around him, fetching toys and trying to soothe him. Only when the Dark Lord moves towards him in complete calmness, his voice reprimanding, Harry, I will not tolerate this behavior. Harry goes quiet for a while. He sniffles. Lucius and Bella breathe a sigh of relief. But what did Harry say about being a Lego? Ah! He screams again. If the Dark Lord thought, after living with him for 5 years, that Harry was still scared of him, he was right. Harry was scared. But Harry would be more horrified if Tom turned bald, pale, and Harry stops himself from throwing up. Ugly. Tom could be the Dark Lord all he wanted, but damn it, he was going to be the handsomest man that ever lived. Yeah, so I'm going to upload all of these, so I won't see you in a millisecond. It's very upsetting. I'm going to be like in new clothes, there's going to be a new setup that'll look different, and it'll make you all uncomfortable, and my voice will be different, and I'll have forgotten all the voice acting, and it's going to be awful. But it takes like 2 days for all the videos to upload. It's obnoxiously long. Anyways, I will see you guys probably on a different fanfiction. Bye!